Hey guys, tonight we're going to dive into a world that, quite frankly, you probably wouldn't last 5 minutes in. Imagine the roar of a crowd, the glint of steel under a blazing sun, and the very real possibility that your next breath could be your last. We're talking about the brutal reality of being a Roman gladiator, a life where survival was a daily gamble and freedom was an impossible dream for most. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. If you're listening from somewhere exotic, maybe let me know your location and local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself in chains, a captive of fate, perhaps a prisoner of war, a condemned criminal, or someone simply unlucky enough to be born into slavery. Your life, as you knew it, is over. The fields you once tilled, the family you cherished, the very air of freedom you breathed, all are now distant echoes. You're being herded, often in a long, weary procession along dusty Roman roads, your feet aching with every step, your spirit heavy with an unshakable dread. The journey is long, arduous, and designed to break you, to strip away any last vestiges of rebellion or hope. You're just another commodity, another body destined for the brutal, bloody entertainment of the Roman masses. As you arrive, the air thickens with the stench of sweat, fear, and something else, a metallic tang that whispers of fresh blood. Even if you can't quite place it yet, you're shoved into a vast, enclosed compound, a ludus or gladiator school. This isn't a school in the academic sense, no grand halls of learning or quiet libraries. No, this is a crucible, a forge where human beings are remade, not into scholars or artisans, but into instruments of death. The walls are high, the gates thick, and the guards are ever present, their eyes cold and unyielding. You are now property, and your life belongs to the lanista, the master of this grim establishment. The initial days are a blur of confusion and raw intimidation. You're stripped, examined, and branded, not with fire, perhaps, but with the indelible mark of your new status. Your past identity is erased. You are no longer you. You are now part of a collective, a number, a potential performer in the grand, macabre theater of the Roman arena. You are given coarse tunics, rough sandals, and a space in a cramped, often squalid dormitory. Sleep is fitful, plagued by the groans of your fellow captives, the distant clanging of metal, and the gnawing anxiety of what tomorrow might bring. The training begins almost immediately, a relentless, brutal regimen designed to transform your body into a weapon and your mind into a mechanism of survival. You're handed a rudis, a heavy wooden sword, unwieldy and cumbersome at first. Your muscles protest, aching with unfamiliar strains as you're forced to swing, parry, and thrust again and again. The instructors, often former gladiators themselves, are merciless. They bark orders, their voices like whip cracks, and they show no patience for weakness or hesitation. Every mistake is met with a sharp blow, a stinging reprimand, or the chilling reminder of your expendability. You quickly learn that pain is a constant companion here, a baseline sensation you must push through. You learn the basic stances, the footwork, the art of keeping your balance while striking, and the even more crucial art of protecting yourself. The heat is stifling, the dust clogs your lungs, and your body screams for rest. But there is no respite. You are pushed to your absolute limits, then pushed further still. They pit you against fellow recruits, the rudies clashing with dull thuds, but the intent is real. You learn to read your opponent, to anticipate their moves, to exploit their weaknesses. It's a dance of death, even in practice, and the stakes are clear. You feel a strange shift within you, a primal instinct for survival beginning to awaken. This isn't about honor or glory. It's about not being the one who falls. Beyond the physical drills, there's a psychological conditioning at play. You're taught to face fear head on, to suppress the natural human instinct to flee from danger. Historians still debate whether true camaraderie existed among gladiators, or if it was always overshadowed by the looming threat of fighting one another. You eat together, train together, and sleep in close quarters, yet an underlying tension, a competitive edge, always remains. You witness others falter, break, or even die during training, succumbing to injuries or sheer exhaustion. Each collapse is a stark reminder of your own precarious existence, a silent warning to push harder, to be stronger. It's a chilling detail that, despite their shared plight, individual survival often meant the demise of another. The diet is surprisingly scientific. In a grim sort of way, you're fed a coarse, high carbohydrate diet, often a mush of barley and beans. It's not about gourmet meals. It's about providing enough calories to fuel your arduous training and build a thick layer of subcutaneous fat. This gladiator fat, as some call it, acts as a protective layer, cushioning blows and preventing quick, fatal arterial damage. It's a stark contrast to the lean, muscular ideal we often associate with warriors. This historical fact, often overlooked, reveals the pragmatic, almost morbid understanding of human anatomy and resilience that the Romans possessed. You eat what's given to you, not for pleasure, but for fuel. It tastes bland, but you crave the energy it provides. You watch the more experienced gladiators, the veterans who have survived multiple bouts. Their bodies are mosaics of scars, testaments to their past struggles and triumphs. They move with a fluid, lethal grace, their movements precise and economical. You try to emulate them, observing every subtle shift, every calculated strike. You see the different types of gladiators emerge: the heavily armored murmillo, with their large shield and short sword, the nimble thrax with their curved sika, the net-wielding retiarius and their trident. You begin to understand that each has a distinct style, a unique set of advantages and vulnerabilities. Your lanista will decide your path, perhaps based on your build or natural aptitude, or simply on the current needs of the arena. The days bleed into weeks, then months. The initial shock gives way to a grim routine. Your hands are calloused, your muscles hardened, and your mind sharpens, honed by the constant threat of failure and death. You learn to block out the pain, to push past exhaustion, to embrace a primal focus that allows you to see only your opponent, only your weapon, only the immediate goal of survival. You begin to develop a strange, unsettling familiarity with the instruments of death: the gladius, the trident, the net. They become extensions of your will, tools for your desperate fight. You also learn about the harsh realities of injury. A cut isn't just a cut, it's a potential infection, a debilitating wound that could lead to your untimely end. Not in the arena, but in the dark, unsanitary confines of the ludus. One particularly grim detail that often gets overlooked in romanticized versions of gladiator life is the sheer lack of agency. You have no say in your fate, no choice in your opponent, and often no control over the outcome. Your life is entirely dependent on the whims of your owner, the crowd, and ultimately, the emperor or local magistrate. You might be forced to fight against a friend you've made during training, a chilling thought that lingers in the back of your mind. Or perhaps you'll be pitted against a wild animal, a spectacle designed to entertain. But for you, a horrifying test of courage and skill against a creature driven by pure instinct. The sounds of the ludus become your new soundtrack. The dull clang of metal, the shouts of instructors, the grunts of exertion, and the occasional chilling scream of someone who didn't quite make it. You witness the public executions, not of criminals, but of disobedient gladiators, a stark reminder of the absolute power held over you. It's a psychological tactic, a way to instill fear and obedience, to break the will of even the most defiant spirit. This constant exposure to brutality desensitizes you, hardening your resolve, or perhaps simply numbing your senses. You learn to compartmentalize, to push down the fear and the despair, focusing only on the next training session, the next meal, the next moment of fragile existence. As the days draw closer to your first public appearance, a palpable tension fills the air. The whispers among your fellow gladiators become more hushed, more anxious. You might notice the lanista scrutinizing you with a new intensity, evaluating your readiness, assessing your market value. You are a commodity, after all, and your survival means profit for him. You might even hear rumors of the games, the upcoming Munera, the scale of the spectacle. Will it be a minor local event, or a grand spectacle in a bustling city like Rome, in the mighty Colosseum itself? The thought sends a cold shiver down your spine, a mix of terror and a strange, morbid curiosity. You have no control over where you will perform or who you will face. You are given specific instructions, not just on fighting, but on how to present yourself. You must appear strong, courageous, and willing to fight to the death. The crowd demands it. Your life, surprisingly, can depend on their approval. A spirited fight, even if lost, might earn you a reprieve, a thumbs up from the emperor. A cowardly display, however, would seal your fate. This added layer of performance, of maintaining a persona in the face of mortal danger, is another cruel twist of your new reality. You are not just a fighter, you are an actor on a stage of blood and sand. The distinction between entertainment and execution blurs. You are not only fighting for your life, but for the crowd's momentary satisfaction. It's a bizarre, horrifying spectacle, and you are its unwilling star. The morning of your first fight dawns with an unnatural stillness in the ludus. The usual clang of steel and shouts of instructors are muted, replaced by a low hum of nervous energy. You rise before the sun, your stomach a knot of dread and anticipation. The ritual begins with a simple, yet profoundly symbolic meal. It's often the last substantial food you'll eat for hours, perhaps ever. You chew slowly, trying to suppress the tremors in your hands, the bitter taste of fear mingling with the coarse bread and watery wine. This is not a meal of enjoyment, but of grim necessity, fueling a body that will soon be pushed to its ultimate limits. You are led, along with your fellow gladiators, through winding underground passages, the air growing colder and damper with every step. The sounds of the city above, muffled at first, begin to swell into a mighty roar. The sound of thousands, tens of thousands of spectators. This is the Colosseum, or perhaps a smaller amphitheater in a provincial town. But the scale of the human anticipation is the same. The very stones seem to vibrate with the collective excitement, a hungry beast waiting to be fed. You catch glimpses of sunlight filtering through grates high above, illuminating dust motes dancing in the gloom. The smell of sweat, unwashed bodies, and caged animals becomes almost overwhelming. This is the scent of the arena, a primal cocktail that sears itself into your memory. As you near the entrance to the arena floor, the roar intensifies, a deafening wave of sound that threatens to swallow you whole. You hear the trumpets, the blaring horns, the rhythmic beat of drums. This is the grand spectacle, designed to awe and intimidate. You are given your specific armor and weapons, not the wooden rudies you've trained with for months, but gleaming, heavy steel. The weight feels foreign, the balance different, but the training kicks in, and your hands instinctively grip the hilt, the shield. You are no longer just a person. You are a murmillo, a triac, a retiarius, a living embodiment of the crowd's violent fantasies. Then, the moment arrives. The heavy wooden gate before you creaks open, revealing a blinding expanse of golden sand and blue sky. You step out, blinking, into the full, unadulterated roar of the crowd. It hits you like a physical force, a wall of sound and sight, thousands upon thousands of faces, stretching up into the sky, a sea of expectant eyes. The sun beats down, hot and unforgiving. You feel utterly exposed, vulnerable, yet a strange, cold calm settles over you. This is it. There's no turning back. You march, or perhaps shuffle, across the sand, your eyes scanning the vast tiers of spectators, the emperor's box, the dignitaries. This is your stage, and your performance is a matter of life and death. You participate in the traditional procession, the pompa, parading before the crowd. You might see other gladiators, some looking confident, others stoic, some clearly terrified. This is the moment of recognition, of being seen. You raise your weapon, perhaps even utter the chilling, famous phrase, Ave Caesar, morituri te salutant. Hail Caesar. Those who are about to die salute you. The words feel hollow, a meaningless ritual, yet you speak them because you must. They are the price of admission to this grim show. The crowd cheers, a hungry beast demanding its feast. Your opponent is led out, another soul condemned to this same brutal fate. You size them up, instinctively assessing their build, their chosen weapons, their stance. Are they a seasoned veteran, scarred and cunning, or a terrified novice like yourself? The Lanista's training flashes through your mind. Observe, analyze, exploit. Your breath comes in short, shallow gasps. The air crackles with tension. The editor of the games, perhaps the emperor himself, gives the signal. The crowd holds its breath, and then the fight begins. It's not the stylized, choreographed dance you practiced in the ludus. This is a visceral, chaotic struggle for survival. The weight of your armor, the unfamiliarity of the sharp blade, the slippery sand beneath your feet. Everything conspires against you. Your opponent moves with surprising speed, a blur of bronze and steel. You parry a blow, the clang reverberating through your bones. You feel the impact, the jarring force, and realize this isn't a game. Every strike, every block, every feint carries the potential for fatal injury. You learn quickly that one wrong move, one moment of hesitation, means death. Scholars continue to debate the exact level of fatality in gladiator games, with some arguing that fights to the death were rarer than commonly believed. While others point to archaeological evidence of widespread violence, the sounds of the arena become a cacophony, the roar of the crowd, the clash of metal, your own ragged breathing, the grunt of your opponent. You focus, narrowing your world down to just the two of you, a desperate struggle on a patch of sand. You attempt a practiced maneuver, a lunge, a shield bash. Your muscles burn, your lungs ache. You feel a searing pain as a blow lands, perhaps a glancing strike to your arm or leg. You ignore it, the adrenaline overriding the agony. You push forward, desperate, driven by the most primal instinct to survive. A unique detail often missed is the role of the arena doctors. In some amphitheaters, There were skilled physicians, often trained for military campaigns, who would attend to wounded gladiators. This wasn't out of altruism, but pragmatism. Gladiators were expensive assets. A wounded gladiator, if tended to, could fight again, saving the lanista the cost of training a replacement. So, while the fights were brutal, there was an economic incentive to keep valuable combatants alive, if only to extend their careers of violence. You might experience this yourself, being pulled from the sand, bleeding and battered, only to be patched up, not out of kindness, but out of calculation. You press on, searching for an opening, a weakness. Your vision tunnels, the crowd a blur, their cries indistinguishable. All that matters is the blade, the shield, the shifting weight of your opponent. You remember a lesson from your trainer, a subtle feint, a shift in weight to throw your opponent off balance. You try it, desperation lending you a surge of energy. It works. Your opponent stumbles, just for a moment. That's all you need. You seize the opportunity, pushing forward, your weapon finding its mark. The fight ends, not with a flourish, but with a sudden, brutal finality. The crowd erupts, a thunderous wave of sound that washes over you. You stand, panting, bleeding, but alive. Your opponent lies still, or perhaps is writhing in agony, awaiting the final judgment. You look towards the Emperor's box, or the editor of the games. Your fate hangs in the balance, a thumbs up or a thumbs down. The suspense is agonizing, every second stretching into an eternity. Even after victory, your life is not truly your own. You are still a pawn in their brutal game. The roar of the crowd, however, feels different now. Perhaps a glimmer of relief, a fleeting moment of savage triumph. But beneath it all, the cold certainty remains. You have survived this fight, but many more undoubtedly await. You are led away, back into the cool, dark passages. The sounds of the next fight are already beginning to rumble from the arena floor. Your body aches, every muscle protesting, but you are alive. The physicians, if present, inspect your wounds, applying crude salves and bandages. The pain is duller now, replaced by a profound exhaustion. You return to the ludus, not as the terrified captive who entered, but as someone who has faced death and, for now, emerged victorious. Yet the victory feels hollow, tinged with the grim knowledge of what it cost and what it might demand again. The image of your fallen opponent flashes in your mind, a chilling reminder of your own narrow escape. The reality of being a gladiator settles deeper into your bones. It's a cycle of brutal training, fleeting moments of performance, and the constant threat of death. There is no escape, only temporary reprieve. You are now truly part of this world, bound by its ruthless rules. You are no longer just a body, you are a weapon, honed and sharpened, waiting for your next deployment in the arena's cruel theater. The taste of victory is brief, quickly overshadowed by the looming shadow of the next contest. Your hands, still trembling slightly, now understand the true weight of the steel they wield, and the blood it will inevitably spill. The memory of the roar, the heat, the sand, and the silent form of your defeated opponent will forever haunt your dreams and define your waking reality. You are a gladiator now, in every terrifying sense of the word. Life in the ludus after your first fight takes on a new, grim rhythm. You're no longer just a recruit, you're a tiro, a novice who has tasted the sand and survived. The training intensifies, but now with a purpose born of experience. Your instructors push you harder, refining your technique, correcting the flaws they observed in your desperate arena debut. You spend countless hours in simulated combat, the wooden rudies feeling more natural in your hand. your movements becoming smoother, more economical. Every parry, every thrust, every step is analyzed, critiqued, and practiced until it becomes second nature. The daily routine is relentless early mornings, endless drills, meager meals, and short, restless nights. The barracks, once a terrifying unknown, now feel like a suffocating cage. You learn to recognize the subtle changes in the Lannister's mood, the unspoken signals of the gods, the whispers among your fellow gladiators about upcoming games. Your body adapts to the constant strain, building muscle and endurance, but your mind is a battlefield of its own. You wrestle with the fear, the anger, the crushing weight of your lost freedom, trying to push it all down, to focus only on the present moment, on survival. One of the most fascinating and often misunderstood aspects of gladiator life was their diet. Forget the image of lean, muscular warriors feasting on meat. The primary diet of a gladiator was largely vegetarian, consisting mainly of barley, beans, and dried fruits. This wasn't some ancient health fad, it was a pragmatic choice. Barley was cheap, abundant, and provided a sustained source of carbohydrates for energy. The beans added protein. This diet, supplemented with ash rich in calcium and other minerals, was believed to strengthen their bones. This layer of gladiator fat we talked about earlier wasn't a flaw. It was a deliberate and vital part of their defensive strategy, offering a cushion against the sharp blows of opponents. Think of it like a natural, living form of padding. Pretty ingenious. Right. You probably wouldn't find it on a modern day bodybuilding diet. But it served its purpose. You learn to appreciate this bland, repetitive fare, not for its taste, but for the raw power it gives you. You see the thicker, sturdier builds of the veteran gladiators, their bodies testament to years of this peculiar diet and brutal training. They are not sculpted Greek gods, but hardened, resilient machines of combat. You notice a curious detail after training. Some gladiators would drink a concoction of plant ash dissolved in vinegar. This wasn't just some strange ancient Gatorade. This ash, likely derived from burnt wood or bones, was rich in calcium. For gladiators who suffered frequent bone fractures and injuries, this was a vital source of minerals, aiding in bone repair and overall resilience. It was a primitive form of sports medicine, driven by the harsh realities of their profession. The types of gladiators you see and train with become clearer. You now understand the intricacies of their various fighting styles and specialized equipment. The murmillo, with their large rectangular scutum shield, short gladius sword, and distinctive fish-crested helmet, are formidable, relying on heavy blows and defensive strength. You might be assigned to train against one, learning to dance around their bulk, aiming for exposed limbs. Then there's the agile Thraex, armed with a small round shield palmula and a curved Sika dagger, designed to hook around an opponent's shield. Their movements are quick, unpredictable, requiring you to be constantly on guard. The Retiarius, perhaps the most visually distinct, fights without a helmet, wielding a heavy trident and a net. They are light, relying on speed and strategy, attempting to ensnare their opponent before delivering a fatal thrust. Facing a Retiarius in practice is a dizzying experience, trying to avoid the whipping net while simultaneously dealing with the long reach of the trident. Academics still debate the precise origins of each gladiator type and how much of their design was purely functional versus symbolic for the crowd's entertainment. It's clear, however, that these specialized roles added a layer of tactical complexity and visual diversity to the games. You also learn about the less common, but equally terrifying, gladiator types, the hoplomachus, mirroring Greek hoplites, with a small shield, spear, and sword, the secutor, designed specifically to fight the retiarius, with a smooth, egg-shaped helmet to prevent the net from snagging, and a short sword. There are even instances of female gladiators, The gladiatrices, though they were rare and often considered a novelty, their presence stirring considerable debate even among the Romans themselves. The diversity of fighters meant that every match presented a unique challenge, demanding different strategies and skills. The training expands beyond just one on one combat. You might participate in mock group battles, learning formation, flanking maneuvers, and the terrifying chaos of multiple opponents. You're taught how to quickly dispatch a fallen foe, to exploit any momentary weakness. The line between training and actual combat blurs, your reflexes sharpen, your instincts become honed, and your body moves with a grim efficiency that would have been unimaginable just months ago. The screams of pain from others no longer send a jolt through you. They are just part of the background noise, a constant reminder of the brutal reality you inhabit. The constant proximity to death, the unending brutality, and the complete lack of personal freedom take a toll. Some gladiators succumb to despair, their spirits broken by the relentless pressure. You see it in their eyes, the hollow gaze, the slow, dragging movements. Others find a grim determination, clinging to the smallest hope of survival, of eventual manumission, freedom. Though rare, a gladiator could earn their freedom through repeated victories, or if purchased by a sympathetic patron, it's a distant, shimmering mirage. But for some, it's enough to keep them fighting, to push through another day of agony. Even your injuries become a part of your identity. Each scar tells a story, a silent testament to a close call, a hard-won victory, or a moment of searing pain. The crude medical care, while sometimes effective, often left its own marks. Infections were common, and a simple cut could quickly become life-threatening. You learn to bind your own wounds, to recognize the signs of infection, to ration what little medical supplies might be available. It's a harsh lesson in self-preservation, a constant reminder of your body's fragility despite its growing strength. The fear of death isn't just about the arena. It's about the slow, agonizing demise that could come from a festering wound in your cramped, unsanitary barracks. The psychological warfare continues. You are not only fighting opponents but also your own mind. The fear of the crowd's judgment, the terrifying uncertainty of the missio, the signal for mercy or death. The knowledge that your life is utterly disposable, these pressures weigh heavily. Yet, you also observe the strange psychological bond that forms amongst those who share this unique, horrifying existence. A dark humor might emerge, brief moments of shared laughter in the face of impending doom. These fleeting connections are fragile, often broken by the next fight, but they are a testament to the enduring human need for companionship. Even in the most brutal of circumstances, you are a weapon. Yes, but you are also a human being trapped in a system designed to exploit your very existence for entertainment. The sounds of the blacksmith forging new blades, the distant roar of animals in their pens, the hushed conversations of the Familia Gladiatoria, these are the sounds that define your world now. And as the days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, you become increasingly adept, increasingly hardened. The thought of your next fight no longer evokes the same blind panic, but a cold, calculated readiness. You are a gladiator, forged in the fires of the ludus, ready to face whatever awaits you in the brutal, sandy embrace of the arena. You stand at the threshold of the arena, not as a trembling novice anymore, but as a gladiator, seasoned by the dust and blood of previous bouts. The initial shock of the crowd, the overwhelming spectacle, has faded, replaced by a grim familiarity. You still hear the roar, feel the sun's bite, and smell the metallic tang of the sand. But now, your focus is sharper, your instincts honed. This time, you know what's coming. The pre-fight rituals feel less like terrifying unknowns and more like a macabre dance you've unwillingly learned to perform. You touch the cold steel of your weapon, its weight familiar, its purpose grimly understood. The arena itself is a brutal teacher. Each fight is a lesson in survival, often etched in scars and aching bones. You learn the nuances of the sand, how it shifts beneath your feet, how it can be used to blind an opponent with a well-placed kick, how blood stains it a darker, ominous red. You learn to read the crowd, a fickle beast whose cheers and jeers can dictate your very life. A brave, desperate stand, even in defeat, might earn you mercy. A cowardly retreat, however, seals your doom. It's a twisted popularity contest where the prize is not fame, but simply another day of existence. One of the most profound realities you face is the mental fortitude required to step into the arena. Time and again. It's not just physical strength, it's the ability to suppress the primal urge to flee, to override the mind's screams of fear, and to push through pain and exhaustion. You witness others break, their eyes glazed with terror, their movements faltering. You see the Lannista's guards waiting, ready to deliver the final brutal blow if a gladiator refuses to fight or falls short of the crowd's expectations. This constant pressure creates a chilling psychological environment, where your mind is as much an enemy as your opponent's blade. You also become acutely aware of the cost of equipment. Each piece of armor, each weapon is valuable. A gladius, a trident, a net. These are expensive, custom-made items. If you damage them, if you lose them, it reflects poorly on your Lanista and, by extension, on you. This adds another layer of pressure to your performance. Not only must you win, or at least fight bravely, but you must also preserve the tools of your trade. This leads to a rather morbid irony while your life is considered expendable. The instruments of your death are treated with meticulous care, polished and maintained to ensure their longevity. It's a chilling reminder of your own objectification. A fascinating, yet gruesome detail often overlooked is the repurposing of the dead. While it's a grim thought in some Roman amphitheaters, the bodies of fallen gladiators were dragged away from the arena floor by figures dressed as Charon, the ferryman of the underworld, or Mercury, the psychopomp. They would then be taken to a spoliarium, a room where their armor and weapons were stripped off and prepared for the next fight or salvaged for parts. Their bodies, having served their purpose as entertainment, were then often disposed of in mass graves or even sold for anatomical study. It's a stark, brutal testament to the dehumanization inherent in the gladiator system, where even in death, a gladiator's remains held a final, practical use. Your fights are becoming more varied, more dangerous. You might find yourself pitted against a new type of gladiator, forcing you to adapt your strategy on the fly. Or perhaps you're part of a venatio, a hunt against wild animals, lions, bears, leopards. These aren't trained beasts in a circus. They are wild, unpredictable creatures driven by instinct. The arena transforms into a dangerous wilderness, and you are just another piece of prey. The roar of the animals, the frantic scrambling for cover, the terrifying speed of their attacks. These fights are a different kind of hell, demanding a raw courage that goes beyond mere combat skill. You probably don't get paid extra for these encounters, which is a bit of a raw deal, don't you think? The wounds, though often tended to by the arena's physicians, accumulate. Your body becomes a tapestry of scars, each one a testament to a narrow escape, a moment of searing pain, a life almost lost, a broken rib here, a deep gash there, a twisted ankle that never quite heals right. You learn to live with chronic pain, to push through it during training and in the arena. The rudimentary medical knowledge of the time, while surprisingly advanced in some ways, was often insufficient for severe injuries. Infections were a constant threat, and a seemingly minor wound could lead to a slow, agonizing death in the unsanitary conditions of the barracks. Historians still debate the extent to which gladiators formed genuine bonds of brotherhood. While they lived, trained, and fought together, the underlying reality was that any of them could be pitted against each other at any moment. This created a strange, tense dynamic, a semblance of camaraderie born from shared suffering, yet always shadowed by the potential for betrayal or forced combat against a friend. You see fleeting moments of compassion, a shared glance of understanding, a quiet word of encouragement. But these moments are rare, fragile, and quickly overshadowed by the brutal demands of your existence. You trust no one fully, not even those who share your chains. As you endure more fights, a strange transformation occurs within you. The raw terror never completely dissipates, but it transmutes into something colder, more focused. You become a more efficient killer, your movements precise, your attacks lethal. You learn to anticipate, to react, to exploit weaknesses with chilling speed. You are no longer just fighting for survival. You are fighting to win, to inflict damage, to end the contest before it ends you. The humanity that once defined you recedes, replaced by the primal instincts of a warrior, a performer of death. The arena audience, with their varying tastes and demands, shapes the very nature of the games. Some crave pure spectacle, others appreciate skilled combat, and still others delight in the sheer brutality. You are performing for them, a living puppet on a stage of their design. Their shouts of Yugula, kill him, or Mite, let him go, hold the power of life and death over you. You learn to interpret their mood, to gauge their shifting allegiances, to understand the subtle signals that could mean the difference between freedom and a swift end. It's a constant, terrifying dance between your will to live and their desire for entertainment. And then, when a fight is over, whether in victory or defeat, you are led back through those dark tunnels, the roar of the crowd fading behind you. The transition from the blinding light and deafening noise of the arena to the quiet gloom of the spoliarium or infirmary is jarring. You are no longer the celebrated or condemned warrior. You are just another body, perhaps wounded, perhaps dead, being processed. The fleeting moment of glory or the agonizing finality is over, and as you tend to your wounds or watch others do so, the grim understanding settles once more. This is your life now, a cycle of training, combat, and an uncertain fate, all for the entertainment of a distant, indifferent crowd. The arena, for all its terrifying scale, isn't the only stage for a gladiator. Sometimes you find yourself fighting in smaller, more intimate settings, a private banquet, a villa's gardens, or even a training ground transformed for a special event. These spectacles, often for the amusement of a wealthy patron and their guests, lack the roaring grandeur of the Colosseum, but they come with their own distinct pressures. The audience is closer, their faces clear, their expectations often more precise, demanding a specific kind of performance. There's no hiding in the vastness of the crowd here. Every move, every grimace, every drop of sweat is meticulously observed. You learn that fighting isn't just about strength and skill. It's about endurance. Not just physical endurance, though that's paramount, but the sheer mental stamina to survive fight after fight, week after week, month after month. The body might heal, but the mind carries the scars of every near fatal blow, every fallen opponent, every moment of paralyzing fear. You learn to live with a constant gnawing anxiety, a low hum of dread that never quite leaves you. Sleep is often troubled, haunted by the echoes of battle and the faces of those who didn't survive. A peculiar aspect of gladiator life that often goes unmentioned is the rituals and superstitions that permeated their world. Faced with such overwhelming uncertainty and constant proximity to death, gladiators, like many ancient warriors, sought solace or perceived control in rituals. This could range from offering prayers to specific deities before a fight, to wearing charms or amulets, or even observing omens in the natural world. While these practices varied greatly, they underscore the profound psychological burden placed upon these fighters, leading them to grasp at any perceived means of influencing their terrifying fate. You might find yourself quietly murmuring a prayer, or rubbing a small stone clutched in your palm, desperately hoping for a touch of divine favor in the brutal moments to come. Your body, despite the relentless abuse, adapts in incredible ways. Your muscles become sinews of steel, your reflexes razor sharp. You move with a practiced efficiency, your every action geared towards survival. You recognize the telltale signs of fatigue in an opponent, the slight hesitation, the weakening guard. You learn to conserve your own energy, to strike only when it counts, to avoid unnecessary movements that could drain your strength. It's a brutal education, learned through blood, sweat, and the constant threat of instant obliteration. You've probably developed a sixth sense for incoming danger, a kind of preternatural awareness that keeps you alive. Beyond the physical combat, there's a surprising degree of strategy and tactics involved in gladiatorial fights. It's not just a chaotic brawl. Different gladiator types have their own strengths and weaknesses, and a skilled gladiator learns to exploit them. A murmillo might try to wear down a nimble retiarius, forcing them to exhaust themselves. A retiarius, in turn, would aim to ensnare the murmillo, limiting their heavy blows. You learn to anticipate your opponent's moves, to counter their signature attacks, to lure them into traps. It's a deadly chess match, played out with steel and flesh, where a miscalculation costs not just a pawn, but your very life. Historians still debate the extent to which gladiator pairings were purely random versus carefully selected to create more dramatic and tactically interesting bouts. The concept of honor in the arena is a complex, often contradictory one. While gladiators were enslaved and forced to fight, there was a strange, grim respect for those who fought bravely and with skill. To die well, facing your opponent with dignity, even in defeat, was often more admired than a cowardly victory. This wasn't about your personal honor, of course. It was about the entertainment value, about providing a satisfying spectacle for the crowd. You learn to project this image of courage, even when your insides are churning with terror. It's another layer of the performance, a vital component of your survival. You're not just a fighter, you're an actor in a never-ending tragedy. The moments of rest between fights are hardly restful. Your wounds are tended to, sometimes crudely, sometimes with surprising care, depending on your value and the availability of skilled physicians. The food is still bland, utilitarian. Your days are filled with more training, refining your skills, keeping your body in peak, albeit battered, condition. You might be forced to witness others' punishments, or even execute a fellow gladiator who shamed the ludus. These grim reminders serve to reinforce the absolute authority of the lanista and the unforgiving nature of your existence. There's no true escape, no real downtime, just a brief pause before the next call to arms. The presence of the Colosseum's hippodrome, the vast network of underground tunnels, ramps, and cages beneath the arena floor, is a truly unique and terrifying aspect of the Roman games. While you might not always fight in the Colosseum itself, the concept of being hidden beneath the very ground where you will soon fight is chilling. Animals would be brought up via elaborate pulley systems, creating sudden, dramatic entrances. Gladiators waited in dark, cramped holding cells, listening to the roar of the crowd above. the muffled sounds of the games already in progress, before being thrust into the blinding light and deafening noise of the arena. This underground labyrinth highlights the incredible engineering prowess of the Romans, all dedicated to orchestrating a deadly spectacle. You become intimately familiar with your specific type of armor. If you're a murmillo, the weight of the scutum becomes an extension of your arm. Its broad surface, your primary defense. If you're a retiarius, the net becomes a fluid extension of your will, cast with practiced precision. The trident, a deadly extension of your reach. You learn to move with the armor, not against it, to exploit its strengths and compensate for its weaknesses. Each piece of your gear, from the ochrea greave protecting your shins to the galea helmet that limits your vision, becomes a part of you. A second skin of bronze and leather that offers a fleeting promise of protection in a world of blades. As the cycle continues, a profound weariness settles over you. It's not just physical exhaustion, but a spiritual fatigue, a deep-seated weariness of constant struggle and impending doom. You learn to find small moments of peace, perhaps in the quiet of the night, or a brief ray of sun filtering into the barracks. But these are fleeting, quickly extinguished by the harsh reality of your situation. You are a gladiator, a professional combatant in a brutal, unforgiving world, and your only true purpose is to fight, to bleed, and perhaps, one day, to die for the entertainment of others. The arena beckons, always, a hungry maw waiting to consume you. The roar of the crowd, a sound you once found terrifying, now has a different resonance. It's still overwhelming, but you've learned to interpret its nuances, the collective gasp at a near miss, the rising crescendo of excitement, the murmurs of approval or disappointment. You've become acutely aware that every movement, every strike, every feint is a performance, meticulously judged by thousands of unseen eyes. Your life in this moment is entirely dependent on their fleeting approval. You're a veteran now, in the grim calculus of the arena. Your body is a testament to your survival, crisscrossed with scars that tell stories of past battles, each one a whisper of pain, a reminder of death narrowly avoided. You carry the weight of these memories, the faces of opponents you've bested, or those who simply fell before you. The youthful fear has been replaced by a cold, efficient determination. You no longer fight out of blind panic, but with a calculated ruthlessness, every move precise, every strike aimed to end the contest swiftly. One of the most profound and unsettling realities you face is the dehumanization inherent in being a gladiator. You are not a citizen, not a person with rights or a voice. You are a commodity, an investment, a tool for entertainment. Your life has a monetary value to your lanista, and your purpose is to fight and die for the pleasure of the Roman populace. This is reflected in the way you are treated, fed, housed, and medically attended to, not out of compassion, but to maintain your value as a combatant. It's a chilling realization, stripping away your individuality until you are little more than a living weapon. The fights themselves are a brutal ballet of violence. You've seen countless styles, faced diverse opponents. You know the cunning of the retiarius, their net a sudden, entangling snare, their trident a long, probing threat. You've felt the crushing weight of a murmillo's shield, the sudden, powerful thrust of their gladius. You've danced with the agile Thraic, their curved Sika a dangerous extension of their quick movements. Each new encounter demands a different approach, a split-second recalibration of your strategy. A surprising fact often overlooked is the existence of referees in gladiator combat. These officials, known as summa rudis or secunda rudi, were present to ensure the rules of combat were followed. They would carry a rod rudis to separate fighters, signal fouls, and perhaps even strike gladiators who fought poorly or attempted to flee. This detail highlights that even within this brutal spectacle, there was a sense of order, a set of prescribed rules designed to maintain the integrity of the sport and ensure a proper show for the crowd. It adds a strange layer of formality to the raw savagery of the fights. You've learned to exploit every advantage, no matter how small. The glare of the sun, the soft spot in an opponent's armor, a momentary lapse in concentration you seize upon these fleeting opportunities. You're also acutely aware of your own vulnerabilities, the limits of your strength, the aches in your joints, the persistent twinge of an old injury. These are weaknesses your opponents will try to exploit. The arena is a place where self-knowledge is paramount, where understanding your own limits is as crucial as knowing your enemies. It's a constant, high-stakes game of observation and reaction. The moments between rounds, if they occur, are brief and intense. You might grab a quick drink, wipe the sweat from your eyes, or receive hurried instructions from your trainer. The crowd's roar never truly dies down. It simply shifts, swelling with anticipation for the next clash. You feel the pressure to make every move count, to deliver the kind of spectacle the audience craves. Your survival depends not just on winning, but on entertaining. It's a peculiar burden, fighting for your life while simultaneously being an actor on a grand, bloody stage. Historians still debate the specific economic incentives for Laniste to keep their gladiators alive. Was it purely about profit from repeated performances? Or did the prestige of having a stable of successful, surviving gladiators also play a significant role? It's likely a combination of both. A gladiator who consistently wins becomes a star, a draw for the crowds, generating more revenue. Therefore, investing in their health, providing rudimentary medical care, and even granting minor privileges were not acts of kindness, but shrewd business decisions. Your very survival is a calculation in someone else's ledger. The exhaustion is bone deep. Every muscle screams in protest. Your lungs burn, and your mind feels a heavy fog. Yet, you push through. You remember the training, the endless drills, the pain you've already endured. You are a product of the ludus, forged in its harsh discipline, and its lessons are ingrained in your very being. You move on instinct, your body reacting almost independently of your conscious thought. It's a primal state of being, where survival is the only imperative. You've witnessed death in many forms in the arena, swift and merciful, slow and agonizing. You've seen the fallen being dragged away, leaving trails of blood in the sand. Each time, it's a stark reminder of your own precarious existence. Yet, you persist. You might catch a fleeting glimpse of the emperor or a powerful editor, their hand poised, ready to deliver the thumbs up or thumbs down that seals a life or death. That moment, that single gesture, holds more power than any weapon. It's a chilling reminder that, ultimately, your fate rests not in your hands, but in theirs. As the fight progresses, the noise of the crowd, the heat of the sun, the taste of dust and blood all merge into a singular, intense experience. You become one with the arena, a part of its brutal, ancient rhythm. The exhaustion mounts. Your movements become heavier, but your will to survive remains unbroken. You are a gladiator, a testament to resilience in the face of unimaginable odds, fighting not for glory, but for another breath, another day, another chance at a freedom that forever seems just out of reach. You've survived another day, another battle, another brush with death. The brief period of recovery back in the ludus is a painful cycle of patching wounds, enduring the persistent aches of old injuries, and forcing down the same bland, high carbohydrate meals. The days blur into a monotonous routine of healing and training, punctuated by the terrifying adrenaline spikes of arena combat. The weight of your armor and weapon, once foreign, now feels like a natural extension of your own body, a second skin of bronze and iron that offers a fleeting sense of security. The concept of a gladiator's retirement is a shimmering mirage, rarely achieved. For most, the only release from the arena's brutal embrace is death. However, for a select few, those who consistently survived, who became renowned champions, there was a glimmer of hope, a gladiator who earned their freedom, often after numerous victories or through the direct intervention of the emperor, was granted the rudis, a wooden sword symbolizing their honorable discharge. This was a monumental achievement, a true escape from the jaws of servitude and death. Imagine the overwhelming relief, the sudden, almost disorienting sense of choice after a life dictated by others. It's a powerful thought, but for you, still fighting, it remains a distant, almost mythical prospect. Even if granted freedom, the life of a former gladiator was often challenging. Many became trainers in a ludus, passing on their brutal skills to new generations of unwilling fighters. Others might become bodyguards for wealthy patrons, their combat prowess still valuable, but now without the constant threat of public execution. Some, perhaps, simply faded into obscurity, trying to live out their remaining years in peace, forever marked by the violence they had endured and inflicted. Their bodies, however, would carry the indelible testament of their past, the contorted limbs, the chronic pain, the deep, unyielding scars that whispered of a life lived on the edge. A fascinating and often overlooked aspect of gladiator life was their celebrity status. While enslaved, successful gladiators could achieve immense fame and popularity. Their names would be known throughout the Roman world, painted on walls in graffiti, discussed in taverns, and immortalized in mosaics and sculptures. Women, in particular, were sometimes infatuated with these dangerous figures, seeing them as symbols of raw masculinity and courage. This created a strange dichotomy adored by the masses, yet utterly devoid of personal freedom. Imagine being cheered by thousands, your name on everyone's lips, yet knowing you are still a slave, your life ultimately disposable. It's a bizarre form of fame, fueled by bloodlust and fleeting spectacle. You've learned to recognize the subtle cues that indicate your next fight is near, the more intense drills, the sudden, careful attention from the lanista, the hushed whispers among your fellow gladiators. Your body, accustomed to the pain, now instinctively tenses with anticipation. The fear is still there, a cold knot in your stomach, but it's tempered by a steely resolve. You are a survivor, and you will do whatever it takes to remain so. This resilience, born of constant threat, is perhaps the most brutal gift the arena has given you. The arena, for all its brutal reality, was also a powerful tool for social control and political display. The games were not just entertainment, they were a demonstration of Roman power, a way for emperors and wealthy citizens to gain popularity and display their generosity to the populace. The munera, as these spectacles were called, were meticulously organized with elaborate processions, exotic animal hunts, venations, and various forms of public execution before the main gladiatorial bouts. You are a cog in this vast machine, a living piece of political theater, a spectacle designed to distract, entertain, and reinforce the established order. Historians still debate the true motivations behind the Romans' fascination with gladiator games. Was it a deep-seated love for violence, a way to connect with their martial past, or a calculated means of social engineering by the ruling elite? Perhaps it was all of these. What is clear is that the games were deeply embedded in Roman culture, a powerful and pervasive force that touched every level of society, from the emperor to the lowliest slave. You, as a gladiator, are at the very heart of this ancient, bloody obsession. Your body, despite its remarkable healing capabilities, accumulates lasting damage. Joints ache constantly, old fractures throb in damp weather, and the scars on your skin are a permanent map of your battles. You learn to compensate for a slightly weaker limb, a restricted range of motion. The training becomes less about building new strength and more about maintaining what you have, about preserving your ability to fight despite the accumulating toll on your body. It's a grim race against time, as every fight brings you closer to either freedom or final, irreparable injury. The interactions with the Familia Gladiatoria, the staff of the ludus, become a mundane part of your existence. The cook, the armorers, the handlers of the animals, even the medical assistants, they are all part of this grim ecosystem. You see their faces, but rarely their empathy. They are doing their jobs, and you are simply the subject of their work. This transactional relationship further reinforces your dehumanization, your status as an object rather than a person. There are no kind words, no genuine gestures of comfort, only the cold efficiency of a machine designed for violence. As you reflect on your journey from captive to gladiator, you realize the profound change within you. The naive fear of your early days has been replaced by a hardened pragmatism. You live moment to moment, focused solely on the immediate threat, the next strike, the next opportunity for survival. Your dreams of freedom are still there, a faint flicker, but they are overshadowed by the immediate, brutal reality of the sand, the sword, and the deafening roar of the crowd. You are a Roman gladiator, and this is your life, a relentless cycle of battle, bloodshed, and the elusive hope of release. The crowd is a living, breathing entity, and you, the gladiator, are acutely aware of its every mood swing. Its roar can be a balm or a curse, its silence more terrifying than any shout. You've learned to read their collective will, their shifting allegiances, and the subtle cues that can mean the difference between a thumbs up of mercy or a downward turn of the thumb, signaling death. This collective power of the spectators, especially that of the emperor or the editor presiding over the games, is absolute, a constant sword hanging over your head. You might be in the midst of a grueling fight, parrying a heavy blow, when you hear a sudden surge of shouts from the stands. Is it for you against you? A cheer for a decisive move, or a demand for blood? You glance towards the imperial box, if you're in Rome's colossal amphitheater, or to the designated seat of the editor in a provincial arena. Their single gesture, a simple turn of the hand, holds more power than any weapon you wield. It's a chilling detail that after all your training, all your fighting, your very life can hinge on the fleeting whim of a single, powerful individual. The sheer unpredictability of the crowd's decision is a constant source of psychological torment. You can fight valiantly, display immense skill and courage, and still be condemned to death if the crowd, or the editor, decides they've seen enough, or if your opponent simply captured their favor more completely. Conversely, a less than stellar performance might still earn you mercy if the audience is feeling generous, or if your lanista has paid enough to secure a reprieve. It's a game of chance as much as skill, a lottery of life and death played before tens of thousands of screaming spectators. A little known fact about these decisions is the use of a pollis verso gesture, commonly translated as thumbs down. However, scholars still debate the exact meaning of the various thumb gestures. Some argue that a thumb to the side, or thumb hidden in the fist, might have actually signaled mercy, while the thumbs up, pointing to the sky, could have meant to put away the sword, to kill, by thrusting it upwards into the opponent's neck. Whatever the precise gesture, the ultimate decision lay with the editor, making the crowd's influence powerful, but not always absolute. It's a nuance that highlights the subtle complexities of Roman social dynamics and the power structures at play during these gruesome games. You've witnessed the brutal consequences of failing to entertain the crowd. A gladiator who fights poorly, or worse, appears cowardly, is often met with derision and the swift, unforgiving signal for death. It's not enough to merely fight. You must perform. You must display virtues, courage, and manliness, even in the face of certain doom. This constant pressure to be both a lethal combatant and a captivating performer adds another layer of mental strain to an already unbearable existence. You learn to play to the crowd, to offer dramatic flourishes, to prolong a fight just enough to build suspense, all while every instinct screams at you to end it quickly. The sheer scale of the audience, particularly in the larger amphitheaters, is a phenomenon in itself. Imagine the logistics of seating 50,000 to 80,000 people, managing their entry and exit, and controlling such a massive gathering. The engineering marvels of places like the Colosseum were designed not just to hold these numbers, but to facilitate the flow of people and maintain order. You, down on the sand, are just a small, bloody focal point in this immense, orchestrated spectacle of human organization and entertainment. Historians fiercely debate the true extent of the crowd's power versus the editor's. While the crowd's desires were certainly influential, particularly in major cities, the ultimate authority rested with the editor of the games, often a high-ranking official or the emperor himself. They could, and sometimes did, override the crowd's wishes, either granting mercy when the crowd demanded death, or vice versa. This highlights the political nature of the games, where popular opinion was important. But the ruler's authority was paramount. You are keenly aware of this dynamic, your eyes often instinctively seeking out that one decisive hand. The sounds of the arena are not just cheers. They are a symphony of humanity at its most primal. The vendors selling food and drink, the occasional brawl in the stands, the murmurs, the gasps, the collective roar of anticipation, the final, thunderous cheer or groan as a combatant falls. You learn to filter out the noise, to focus on your opponent. But the omnipresent clamor is a constant reminder of the thousands of eyes fixed upon you, judging your every move, deciding your fate. Your own growing skill and reputation can, paradoxically, become both a blessing and a curse. As you win more fights, you become a name, a draw for the crowds. This increases your value to the lanista, potentially leading to better food, better medical care, perhaps even a slightly less harsh living condition. However, it also means you'll be pitted against increasingly skilled and dangerous opponents, often in higher stakes bouts. The expectations placed upon you grow, and the pressure to maintain your winning streak intensifies. Fame, in the arena, is merely a longer leash, not true freedom. And then, the moment of decision. The fight ends, perhaps with your opponent wounded and prone, or you yourself kneeling, awaiting judgment. The world narrows to the face of the editor, the expectant silence of the crowd. A single hand moves, and your future is decided. It's a moment of profound vulnerability, where all your strength, all your skill, means nothing. You are utterly at the mercy of another's will, a chilling testament to the brutal reality of being a Roman gladiator, where even victory is just a temporary reprieve from the ultimate, inescapable judgment. The echoes of the arena persist, long after the crowds have dispersed and the sand has been swept clean of blood. For you, a surviving gladiator, the impact of this brutal life extends far beyond the dust of the fighting floor. It seeps into your very being, shaping your body, your mind, and your understanding of the world. The legacy of the gladiator games, though ancient, continues to resonate through history, a grim testament to humanity's complex relationship with entertainment, violence, and power, and your body, a testament to countless battles, carries the permanent marks of your profession. Every scar is a story, every ache a reminder of a blow endured, a wound stitched. You might walk with a permanent limp, a shoulder that never quite heals right, or hands gnarled from years of gripping weapons and shields. The long-term health consequences for gladiators were severe chronic pain, arthritis, bone deformities, and the lingering effects of head trauma. While some lived to an old age, their bodies were irrevocably altered, living museums of their past brutalities. This often goes unsaid in the romanticized tales, but for you, it's a constant, aching reality. Beyond the physical, the psychological toll is immense. The constant threat of death, the witnessing of extreme violence, the lack of freedom, and the dehumanization inherent in your existence leave deep, unseen scars. You might suffer from what we now recognize as forms of PTSD, experiencing nightmares, hypervigilance, and an inability to truly relax. The world outside the ludus and the arena might feel alien, unfamiliar after years of living in a state of constant survival. Trust, a luxury you rarely afforded, becomes an almost impossible concept. The games themselves left an indelible mark on Roman society. They were a central feature of Roman public life, deeply ingrained in their culture for centuries. They served multiple purposes: entertainment, political propaganda, a means for emperors to display their wealth and generosity, and a brutal demonstration of Roman power and military prowess. The sheer scale and frequency of the games highlight their importance. Tens of thousands could flock to an amphitheater, mesmerized by the spectacle of life and death played out before them. This widespread acceptance of such extreme violence speaks volumes about the values and worldview of the Roman populace. A fascinating, yet often disturbing, detail about the legacy of gladiators is the discovery of gladiator cemeteries. One notable example is a burial ground found in Ephesus, modern-day Turkey, where archaeologists have unearthed the remains of dozens of gladiators. Analysis of their bones provides chilling insights into their lives, heavy musculature, frequent and specific types of injuries consistent with weapon strikes, and evidence of the unique high carbohydrate diet. These archaeological findings offer concrete, brutal proof of the harsh reality of their existence, confirming the literary accounts and giving us a physical connection to these long-dead warriors. It's a sobering thought, seeing the very bones that endured such a violent life. The influence of gladiatorial combat even seeped into Roman art and literature. Mosaics depicted famous gladiators and their triumphs. Sculptures captured their powerful physiques, and poets and historians wrote about their bravery and their gruesome fates. This widespread artistic representation solidified their place in the Roman consciousness, transforming them from mere slaves into legendary figures, albeit ones whose fame was built on bloodshed. You, a living gladiator, are part of this artistic legacy. Your every fight a potential scene for a future mosaic or a whispered tale. Historians still debate the specific reasons for the eventual decline and abolition of gladiatorial games. Was it the rise of Christianity, which condemned the spectacles as pagan and immoral? Was it economic factors, as the cost of staging such elaborate games became prohibitive, or simply a shift in public taste and priorities? It was likely a complex interplay of these factors, with the games gradually fading out by the 5th century CE, leaving behind a profound and bloody chapter in human history. The exact timing and primary cause remain points of academic contention. Even long after the arenas fell silent, the image of the gladiator continued to capture the human imagination. From medieval tales of valiant knights to modern-day films and literature, the archetype of the lone warrior fighting against impossible odds often for the entertainment of others, has persisted. The gladiator, in a strange way, became a symbol of courage, resilience, and the brutal realities of power and survival. Their story, though horrific, is undeniably compelling. For you, in the chilling quiet of the ludus between fights, the full weight of this legacy might feel overwhelming. You are a living fragment of history, a human embodiment of ancient brutality and spectacle. Your existence is fleeting, your future uncertain, but your struggles, your pain, and your desperate fight for survival will resonate through the ages, long after your name is forgotten. You are more than just a fighter. You are a testament to a world that relished violence and to the enduring human spirit that, against all odds, sought to endure within it. The Colosseum stands silent now, a monumental ruin bathed in the moonlight, its grand arches echoing with nothing but the whispers of the wind. The roar of the crowd is long gone, the clash of steel faded into history. Yet, as you lie here, perhaps drifting on the edge of sleep, you can almost feel the vibrations of that ancient ground, the weight of those unseen eyes, the spectral presence of the men who once fought and died within its sandy embrace. Your journey through the brutal reality of being a Roman gladiator draws to a close, and with it, the intense, often terrifying, imagery begins to recede, replaced by a gentle calm. Imagine the sheer force of will it took for those gladiators, day after day, to face not just their opponents, but their own mortality. They were, in a grim sense, scientists of survival, their bodies, laboratories of endurance, their minds honed to a razor's edge by the constant threat of extinction. They discovered, through brutal trial and error, the optimal diet for strength and protection, the most efficient ways to wield their specialized tools of destruction, and the psychological fortitude needed to walk into an arena where death was a very real, very public possibility. Their lives were a testament to human resilience, even when that resilience was exploited for brutal entertainment. As your mind slowly unwinds, let the stark images of the arena soften, becoming distant, almost dreamlike. Think of the sun-drenched stones of the amphitheater, now cool under the night sky. The cries of the crowd are replaced by the soft rustle of leaves, the distant hum of the modern world. The sharp clang of sword against shield transforms into the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, steady and calm. This ancient world, so full of violence and spectacle, is now just a whisper on the wind, a story told to ease you into slumber. The strength, the endurance, the sheer will to survive that defined the gladiators. These are human qualities that resonate through time. We see echoes of them in our own struggles, our own challenges, though thankfully, ours rarely involve tridents and hungry lions. Yet, the story reminds us of the incredible capacity of the human spirit to adapt, to endure, and to find a way forward, even in the most brutal of circumstances. It's a testament to the raw, unyielding force of life itself. Allow yourself to feel the comfort of your own bed, the softness of your pillow, a stark contrast to the hard, dusty ground where gladiators laid their fiery heads. Let the vivid details of their brutal lives fade, leaving only a sense of profound calm. The battle is over. The performance has ended. All that remains is the quiet peace of the night. You are safe, warm, and utterly at ease. Now, as the last remnants of the arena's echoes drift away, feel the peace settling deep within you. The harsh realities of the ancient world have dissolved, leaving only the gentle rhythm of your own breath. You are drifting, effortlessly, towards the tranquil shores of sleep. Let your mind become as clear and still as the night sky. Good night.